Should you be voting based on what's in your heart, or should you be voting based on strategy? Neither. You should be voting based on our constitutional moral compass that isn't your own personal moral compass, but that of our objective truth of the constitutional supremacy. This means that even if you wanted to vote for DT, even if you wanted to vote for a Republican, the fact that if I am disqualified, I cannot win because the Constitution is supreme and it's telling me that someone who attacked the Constitution through an insurrection cannot win, that means any patriot would have voted against that candidate. The fact that over 75 million Americans did not means that they refused to satisfy their patriotic duty to exist as a guardrail against constitutional destruction. Because we are supposed to exist as guardians to protect the United States Constitution. And the fact that Americans, particularly even military personnel, thought that they clocked out when they were voting so they didn't have to protect the Constitution anymore. That means that too many people were voting based on what their heart told them and even strategy of their political compass, right? Because political compass should not supersede that of constitutional compass. What does that mean? For this in context, we're gonna use astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson's three kind of truths. Why? Because there's a difference between something being your personal truth, which cannot subvert constitutional supremacy, even as citizens, because democracy isn't pure in our constitutional republic. So we cannot vote in someone who is constitutionally disqualified. The fact that we did is a crisis. There's political truth, which means that which is our current environment, but that can shift. And then we're going to do a tailored objective truth, which I'm going to call constitutional truth because Neil kind of talks about it much more about science, but I want to talk about constitutional reality. To put this in context, personal truth doesn't require evidence, it just has to be your own opinion, right? I heard of a voter who voted for DT just because she wanted IVF and he promised free IVF, so she voted for him based on her own heart telling her what to do, right? And even military personnel who were told, hey, this is democracy, so vote for whoever you want, when in fact we should be voting based on our constitutional guardianship, that compass that is engraved within our social contract, the 1789 United States Constitution. But let's put this in perspective. Let's use immigration. Personally speaking, my personal truth is that borders are made up. You see, the borders of the United States was created through conquest and through violence. As such, this was used to justify them conquering a territory that wasn't theirs. The constitutional truth, so the objective truth of our reality, is that we have to provide for the common defense, right? That means that we have to secure borders. However, we cannot do this and violating the rights of those who touch U.S. soil, because as soon as you touch U.S. soil, you have certain constitutional rights like the right to life and even the right to not be discriminated just because you look illegal. In California, over 40% of the population is Latino. So it means you have to kind of balance these realities, not go maximum immigration enforcement. So, in regards to political truths, which are truths people believe in because of tradition, culture, or through sheer repetition in time, this means that when I am voting based on that objective truth. So, yes, we should have border protection, border control. However, this should not come at the cost of constitutional rights like the right to life. Personally, a recommendation that I would suggest is the reality that in order for us to fully solve this, we have to do a bipartisan compromise. Particularly, we require amnesty for undocumented immigrants in the United States who are contributing to our country but also don't have that criminal baggage. Give them citizenship, and only then can we talk about actually changing our birthright citizenship. I would say that we require constitutional reset. So in order for us to move our birthright citizenship away, we have to first ensure that no one in the United States is illegal. That is the common sense solution. Now let's use this within elections. I believe that we, the people, should be the drivers of our political actors, right? So they should be centering what the people, their constituents, actually want and need instead of their actual special interest in corporations. So it is us who controls the government, not them who control our government, right? The objective truth tells us that yes, we the people are the ones who drive this government. We fund this government, and this government doesn't have money without us. This government is a means to an end that is the public good. So, really, yes, our lawmakers should be representation of we the people. However, we are not a total consent by the governed republic, because if I am a lawmaker, say I'm a representative and my district wants to discriminate and segregate like Muslims, even if my district wants that because democracy wants it, the constitution says that's unconstitutional, so I shouldn't push that. However, in ultimate reality, yes, the people should be the drivers of the agenda, not special interests and corporations, right? But the political truth under the Electoral College and under Citizens United is that we the people do not drive our lawmakers. It is special interests, it is corporations, and it is DNC and RNC interest in just maintaining the lesser two evils. So they don't want to include other parties, and they want to stress us out, only choosing one progressive party and one conservative party, so we don't go outside of that. That's why they keep the Electoral College. The Electoral College is in order for us to feel stuck. And although we shouldn't be like this, the fact that we are means that our political truth means that we don't have the power to pressure to an extent our lawmakers, because we do not have the funds that the corporations and special interests have to give into their campaigns. And the fact is that they can use those funds to convince us through advertisements, through marketing, right? Through their campaigning. They don't need to satisfy our needs because they can just promise us without satisfying it, and that we will still vote for them because we feel like we have no other choice. We technically do not. And again, the problem here is in social polarization. So it's not the fact that we as voters do not agree with each other and we disagree in regards to politics. It is political disintegration, which is the fact that our current government has been inherited in a reality that it's misaligned with our constitutional design. So they're creating a electorate where we vote based on our heart, not based on constitutional compass. Why? Because they themselves are misaligned to the constitutional compass. So why vote for constitutional compass when we're going to realize that our government isn't maintaining a more perfect union like they should have? An example of political truth is the Electoral College, because the Electoral College doesn't have any legal arguments that promote for it to exist. It's just a compromise, like a three-fifths compromise. It was the state who didn't trust that we the people were smart enough to choose quality presidents. They wanted to filter out our vote. That is like a conservatorship, like the one Britney Spears had, because they felt we were too stupid. The objective truth is that every single individual's vote should count, and we shouldn't require a filter of the Electoral College in order for democracy to work. But even then, the fact that democracy in itself is not above the constitutional supremacy, so the reality that if I am disqualified, I cannot win. Yet we currently have him in there means that our greatest problem is the fact that we have derouted ourselves from the constitutional balance. And in this reality, people have been voting misaligned to our constitution because they've been telling us vote based on your own personal interest, and that's not what we're supposed to be doing. Because they tell us that America is founded on freedom, your freedom to choose. But we're not founded on freedom, we're founded on liberty. Federalist 2 by John Jay. Nothing is more certain than the indispensable necessity of government, and it is equally undeniable that whenever and however it is instituted, the people must see to it some of their natural rights in order to vest it with requisite powers. That means that liberty can be restricted under high threshold, freedom cannot, which means we're not founded on freedom. You shouldn't be voting on freedom, you should be voting on liberty.